Welcome, everybody, far and wide across the province, my Aboriginal Run Walk participants and leaders. This is Coach Lynn, and I'm so glad you decided to join us today. And I say us because I have a very special guest on board in support of the wonderful work you're doing right now with your running and walking. We all know that food is your medicine. And those words come from our Aboriginal Health Island health dietitian, Fiona Devereaux. Devereaux, oh my goodness, I hope I didn't clear it. Fiona, you're there. Is that how I pronounce your name?
Yes, yes, that's great.
Okay, awesome. So glad you're going to help us with a whole bunch of tips moving through this presentation today as we discuss healthy eating and nutrition goals to support your program. And before we get to everything, what I really want to do, gang, is just touch base with you, a little bit of background and where you're at right now, and just create and help you understand the vision that's happening across the province. So I'm Coach Lynn, that's me, and I have the privilege of traveling around the province visiting groups that are running and walking just as you are, and also creating events around the province to celebrate success at the end of the program. I've been doing this for some 22 years, and it truly is a privilege because the journey is something that is really makes such differences, and to know that this is happening everywhere in the province will help you at times of feeling maybe less motivated and less sort of excited about what you're doing, because sometimes that happens when you're in the middle of a program. And right now you're in week 4. Some of you are only just beginning. Some of you have already progressed through a few weeks. In any case, we're in this thing together, and I wanted you to have some understanding of just how it began. For First Nations groups, this wonderful woman who has become my friend and mentor was a coordinator of a run walk group in Penticton some, oh gosh, 15 years ago. And that gal right there on the left of your screen is Denise LaCoy. And in Penticton, she had a group of people that she was leading, preparing for the Vancouver Sun Run. There were 120 people at that time, some 15 years ago. And when I went to visit Denise and her group, she said to me at that time, Lynn, can we bring this program specifically to First Nations groups? And of course, I said, well, help me. How can we do this? And the short version is that it is 10 years later, 2007, we had 20 First Nations volunteer leaders, and those leaders that are listening, thank you so much for your commitment. At that time, we had an astounding 20 people. We only expected 3 or 4, to be honest. We had 500 participants. And then as you see right there, this year, you are part of a potential group of over 2,500 First Nations people around all of British Columbia, running and walking, taking steps towards better health just as you are. So is that not amazing? Fiona, is that not amazing?
It's amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. Well done, everybody.
Oh, and it began with the Sun Run because that was the sort of kind of catalyst to get the leader training events started and to start to gather people. But now it's not at all about Sun Run. It's about your community. It's about where you want to be. Do you want to create your own event? And there are many run walk events now around the province specific to First Nations communities, and then extending out into those various communities at large. So this is what's called the Salmon Run, and it takes place every year in Terrace, BC, and over now some 350 people join in for this fabulous salmon barbecue and just a great celebration. And that same kind of energy is happening everywhere around the province. I could go around and name some, oh gosh, 25 plus events. So I've just returned. I want you to understand all these opportunities is that I've just now returned with our Sport Med team we've been in a number of communities, but just yesterday we were out in Agassiz, and in support of the Run Walk program, we're offering health screening so that these tests are administered now before the program, or just early on in the program. And then we develop this and measure this baseline of fitness, so that then after the 3 months of the program where you've been running and walking and eating properly, nourishing your body properly, and then finding out 3 months later how small changes in your life and in your lifestyle can result in amazing positive changes in your overall health measured by this health screening. So that's something to think about moving forward, even for next year. If we haven't visited your community, let's figure out how we can do that, and let's teach you these test procedures so that you can then continue to offer it within your communities, and it's sustainable. So, and now I'm the coach. I provide the program, the advice, and I have to check in with you, because the number one thing that everybody does is too much, too fast, too soon. So I'm asking and suggesting that you've received your logbooks by now. You've received your little kind of pull out, what do we call it? I can't think what we even call it, but it's a nice little foldable program sheet that explains everything and gives you exactly, pocket guide. We call it a pocket guide. I knew I'd think of it. You can see exactly what you need to be trying to bring into your life every week, 3 times a week, a session of walking or learning to run, or even some avid runners are running stronger and a little bit faster. So you should be feeling awesome. You should be staying at a nice talking pace. Running and walking should feel easy as long as you take it easy and keep yourself away from huffing and puffing, and chat with your neighbor, chat with your friend, chat with your family member. Invite all of the people in your community to come out and do this with you, and you will have fun and be amazing at the changes you make in your fitness level, both mind and body. So with that now, with that little bit of intro, I'm excited to get to the meat of our presentation today with Fiona. And of course, she's going to share her expertise now on how we can support our efforts and keep our bodies healthy with good nutrition medicine. So Fiona, you know what? Take it away. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you, Lynn, and sorry for coughing. I've got that cold that's going around BC right now.
Oh.
Hi, everyone. I wish we could be in the same space. It's always nice to be able to connect with people that are the change agents in their community and trying to take the small steps that we need to take care of ourselves. So my name's Fiona. Thanks, Lynn, for introducing me. I am a settler and an occupier in the Lekwungen lands here in Coast Salish territory in South Vancouver Island. I want to acknowledge the people for respectfully sharing their knowledge with me and supporting with me, but truly for allowing me to be on their land and then to work in this area. I'm first-generation Canadian from Irish ancestry. And I've spent most of my life in Coast Salish territory, but also a lot of my life in the Whitecap, Dakota area of the prairies in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, doing education and also growing up. So that's a little bit about me, and one day maybe we'll get to meet in person. Always important just to kind of get an idea of where I've spent my time. So we have a map here of Vancouver Island and all the nations that live in this beautiful territory. There's 51 nations on Vancouver Island and 6 friendship centers. So I always just want to acknowledge the Coast Salish, the Nuu-Chulnith, and the Kwakwaka'wakw people for their knowledge and respect for the land and caring for the island for since time immemorial. And then I just thought a beautiful image would be just to ground ourselves in the beautiful food of the place that I live. And I know you guys are all over BC, but I thought this visual might be something helpful just to ground us in where our food comes from and the health of the land and the health of us and that connection and how they're so intertwined. So this is a new image that's just kind of been created, and it's really to honor the Indigenous food systems of Vancouver Island and show the diversity of food mixed in with some of the dominant, more modern foods that have come into our food choices. So I just always like to ground and respect the foods that have nourished us and the people that have tended those foods for generations.
Diversity
So,
just jumps out at me. Sorry, I can't help it. It's like, look at the choices and the beautiful color and the incredible just variety that we have to choose from.
And I always think about that. I have been lucky in the last couple of years for people to help me really fall in love with plants and the foods of our forests. And I think about that with activity and how much more active I am just by getting out and trying to connect to where the plants are from, seeing how they're growing and nurturing them, and just, or, fishing or hunting, and just the physical nature of food that can be a part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the next one is just taking a look at take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And I always love this slide, just a reminder of that we're in this one lifetime, we're given this one beautiful body, and it's just important to connect with it and to love it in the best way possible. And so that's kind of what we're going to focus on today, is just a little bit of that reminder of self-care. So when we think about connecting to whole foods, I always like to just remind us of the consciousness that is involved in something around self-care with food. So what are you eating on a regular basis? What is your main fuel? I hate to ever demonize food because I love chocolate-covered almonds or chocolate-dipped strawberry.
Fiona, do you hear me now? I'm interrupting because I've lost your audio.
These visuals about what is real food. When you look at these visuals here, do you see trees of Lucky Charms, shrubs of marshmallows, or streams of diet soda? And I think that is something just to kind of, when we think back to our map, how are these foods connected? And one of those things is, do these foods live? Are they alive? Do they eventually decompose? Because that's one thing. Whole food is alive, and it consists of one ingredient, itself. And so that's going to be a little bit of that focus of how we can reconnect to food that has one ingredient. So when we look at how an apple might change and how our food system and the dominant food system has taken something as beautiful as an apple and it has made applesauce, and then it's processed it even more to make apple juice, and then they make candy, and then they say they put apple flavor.
Right.
So we watch the food be removed from itself. And so just that idea of connecting through how food, so the idea of like Rice Krispies has almost the same calories as a cup of nettle tea, but you're significantly getting lower nutrients. So nettle has tons and tons of calcium, iron, vitamin C, well, actually, you know, it's interesting. Nettle has 2,900 milligrams of calcium, where a cup of Rice Krispies has 2.
Wow.
42 milligrams of iron in nettle versus 9 milligrams of iron, but that's because they fortified the cereal. So just that connection that let's try and eat the food in its natural form. What is that quote? I want to eat food that comes from a plant, eating disease or fighting it. So that reconnection to what's fueling you.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really love the word nourishment. I think it really reminds us of why we eat. I mean, I sometimes just love Cadbury's chocolate because it tastes so good. But I really love eating meals or food that I can actually feel it nourishing our bodies. So what we put in our bodies is what we will get out. So you guys are all athletes and you're doing great stuff around your health. How does eating well, it helps increase your performance, improves your mental health and your spiritual health, and it helps your immune system. As I'm struggling with a cold here, I'm not sure this season we could have done anything with that. But so we're going to just walk through a few slides that remind us a little bit of the nourishment aspects. So how many heads of iceberg lettuce would you have to eat to get the same amount of iron in a cup of nettles?
Wow.
So it's really fascinating. So if you throw it up, it takes 4.5 heads of iceberg lettuce to get the same amount. Oh, of calcium. Sorry, not iron.
Okay.
And so when would you ever sit down and eat 4.5 heads of iceberg lettuce? And the visual here for me is really strong. It's the beautiful color of nettles, spinach, kale, arugula, versus iceberg lettuce that really has lost those deep, deep colors, and that's where a lot of the nutrition comes in.
Do you not kind of know it when you eat it? I feel like I do when I'm crunching away on iceberg lettuce versus any darker green vegetable, leafy greens. I just have a sense of it.
Exactly. There's a lot of water and fluids in your iceberg versus the other ones. And sometimes it's just having someone cook you or make something for you with a new food so that you get familiar with it. Because a lot of the times you're just like, I've never tried nettle, or I've never tried spinach, or I don't know how to prep it. And that's one of the opportunities you guys have to kind of increase people's familiarity with newer food. Yeah, so we've got an apple. How many cookies would you have to eat to get the same amount of fiber in an apple? This one kind of floored me. Yes. It's 17.6 chocolate chip cookies to get the same amount of fiber as in an apple.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
of course, these are simple white flour chocolate chip cookies. They're not made with rolled oats or old-fashioned oats, which if you did, those cookies would have a little bit more fiber and nutrition for you. But it just shows sometimes you can snack on 3 cookies because they actually don't really fill you up like an apple does. So just having these visuals.
I think people, I know myself too, like you feel somehow or another that, I don't know if you're having an oatmeal cookie, for example, that, oh, there's oats in there, so I'm getting some fiber. But again, and you think of an apple, you know, you're crunching it down, but it's you know it's a fruit, so you think, oh, there's that misconception that it's not about the fiber, it's about the fruit and the carbohydrate. But it's look at the fiber involved there in eating an apple.
Yeah, and then you're getting the medicine, because not only in that beautiful package of an apple, you're getting vitamin C, fiber, B vitamins, some of the potassium. So some of the things you actually need to rehydrate after an exercise, where from a cookie point of view, you're just getting some simple sugar, which you're naturally getting from the apple. So yeah, trying to find the best choices possible to fuel yourself. The next slide is about iron, which is so important for women and so important for athletes. Iron is one of the major nutrients that we don't get enough of, and then through our moon cycles we lose iron every month. So I always like to just focus on iron a little bit. So clams are naturally, everyone always thinks of liver and red meat and dark turkey meat as really good sources of iron. Well, really our food of our territory, which is clams, can be also high in iron. So 10 steamed cooked clams. How many hot dogs would you have to eat to amount of that? And so just that whole disconnection from, I think sometimes when I'm eating, oh, go ahead.
No, it is astounding. I'm here.
Oh.
You hear me? I was going to say I think there is a little bit of lag time in the audio, and sometimes I may not be there for in that split second. So, and it's happening for me. So if we're not in sync with the slides. That's just because we're in two different places, and that's the system.
One of the things I think, have you ever, when you're eating white bread or you're eating hot dogs, or I always use Mr. Noodle as an example, and I find I never feel full.
No.
And it's like you're kind of starving, and I think that's the body's way of telling us we're not getting nourished. We're not getting the vitamins, we're not getting the minerals. We might be getting full, but we're not getting the nourishment. So that's where these slides are here, just to kind of raise some awareness. The next one is like, when is food the medicine? This is a simple West Coast pemmican recipe that has nuts, some wind-dried smoked fish, some peanut butter, some nuts and seeds, and then a bit of dried huckleberry or blueberry. Great little power snack to burn that off. If you were going to use it as energy, you'd have to walk for 23 minutes. You take that same kind of idea of needing a snack and make a bologna sandwich. You'd have to burn and walk for 60 minutes to burn that off. And then a lot of times some people are in a hurry. They grab maybe a pop and chips or a vitamin water and a granola bar. They'd be kind of similar. And you need to walk for 80 minutes to burn a snack like that off.
Oh.
So what are some quick,
it's terrible.
What are some quick, and sometimes it just gets kind of like a habit. And so making sure you have some food. Like I always have snacks in my desk and my car so that I don't get hungro. I always call it, or hangry. Because as soon as my blood sugars drop, I naturally crave higher fat, higher sugar choices. And
that it's true. I think that is what happens, and it's having the right choices when you are hungry. Like just making that conscious effort to, as you say, have those the healthy kinds of choices on hand, in the car, at home, in the fridge, so that you're less likely to make a choice that's not so good.
Another resource we have, and all of this I can share with you, we've got tools that you could take and use with your own community. But this is just an ingredient list from a popular, well-marketed food, and this is everything that was on its ingredient list. And so I'm surprised when I see what it is, how much is in it. So it is actually a granola bar. And I'm so surprised, because I do sometimes make oat bars or homemade granola bars, and there's like 3 or 4. If I want to get fancy, there might be 8, but they're all whole foods in the ingredients. And look at the amount of stuff that the food company adds into them. The next one is another one that kind of sometimes I hear youth eating. I think I had it when I was younger. When they're hungry, or they just get home from school, or if they're heading out to be active. And it's the silly pizza pop. But look at the amount of ingredient list. And
Great.
One of my favorite things to do is to make mini pizzas on English muffins or pitas. But you dramatically reduce the ingredients by making them at home. And then it's also a ton more cheap. Like, it's so expensive, pizza pockets, than those.
Well, this is it.
So,
yeah.
So I just wanted to show some of those visuals for you guys, and hopefully that's helps. So the next thing I wanted to connect to is water, and how important water is for our bodies. So here's some quotes from 2 elders and community leaders in the community about the importance of water and how it takes care and nourishes our bodies. So I'd just like to acknowledge them for sharing these quotes and kind of grounding us in that connection of water. So many of you encourage water for the people that are training in your programs, and it's just always important to remind ourselves that the body is made up of water. 60 to 70% of it is water. And so how important water is, and how it flushes toxins, and it nourishes every little crevice in our body. So it carries nutrition, it removes wastes and toxin, it helps cool the body and helps us sweat, it helps us digest food, it repairs and replaces old tissues, and then it cushions all the organs and the joints. So I always just like to remind us of the medicine of water. And as we can see in some of the social activist stuff happening around BC and in Dakota, people are really reminding us how important it is to connect to that medicine. Some water recommendations for sports is just as we age, our thirst mechanism can reduce. So I don't know if you noticed it, once I turned 30, I stopped kind of being as thirsty as I thought, and especially I just turned 40, and I can tell that I have to remind myself to drink a lot more. Where when I was younger, I kind of always had a water bottle with me, and I was always hydrating. But as I've aged, I've noticed that my ability to recognize that is low, and then in my parents, they are very poor at drinking enough water, so I'm always trying to ask them what their pee looks like and how dark it is, and are they getting clear urine to show that their body's getting enough hydration. So avoid that catch-up that you might get throughout the day, and just try to make sure you're hydrating 2 to 3 hours before activity, at least 2 cups out your activity, and then of course hydrate after. So
Fiona,
those are some specific recommendations.
Just a quick question, because I do get this a lot, is, well, does it work if I, drink Gatorade, or does it work if I drink coffee or tea? Like, do all of those things add up to this amount of water? And what should I think about with those choices? Oh, shoot. Okay.
No, I think I heard you. Are you wondering about coffee and tea and whether or not they are hydration?
Yes, that's a common question, as well as should I substitute Gatorade for water?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to jump in on the Gatorade conversation here in a sec.
Okay.
But with the coffee and tea, they do have caffeine in them. And even I drink a lot of herbal teas, and I can drink them all day and I feel like, oh, well, I drank like 3 or 4 cups of herbal tea. But what I find is those plants and those, like the herbs, are actually kind of flushing and cleansing. You still need that water. And with the caffeine that's in regular tea and coffee, they're are dehydrating you. But I also say the research on it is saying that, it's not as dehydrating as we thought. But however, my body sure tells me that when I've had a cup of coffee, I need to drink water. I feel dry. I go to the bathroom way more. So I would ask everyone to really try to connect to themselves. Are they thirsty? Are they going to the bathroom more? And is their pee clear? And I think that that's one way you can tell. Mm-hmm. But no, we still need water to hydrate above and beyond any other fluids that you get. And I think your pee is your best way to know if you're getting enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so this is just a game, another one, just to talk about how long you would have to walk when you have a cup of medicine tea. And a lot of people laugh. They're like, well, there's nothing in medicine tea. But of course there's the vitamins and the minerals. But yes, there's no calories to burn off. So it would be 0 minutes of walking to burn something like that off. If you take that and have an iced cap, though, and because of the size that they're served and the amount of sugar and everything that's in there and fat, it takes 48 minutes, 63 minutes. So in a flavored latte. So that just shows you that sometimes we can get a lot of sugar and calories from what we drink. And so I really want to ground us all in that teaching and hydration of water.
Oh dear, I've lost you. Fiona, are you there?
Yeah, you just unmuted me. Everything's happy again.
Oh, thankfully. I'm not sure how we got muted in the first place, but anyway, there you go. I'm glad to hear your voice.
Maybe everyone went to have a pee and they can check their urine color. There we go.
Nice one.
Their little break. Hi, everyone. We're back. And sports drinks are something that I think we all want to know more about, and a lot of us choose. And I think it's important to remember who's making them, and that it is a business and it's a corporation trying to make money. But unless you're a professional athlete, or unless you're exercising like full on for over an hour, hour and a half, these drinks are not needed. And even many of the professional athletes I know, I mean, Lynn could maybe help share because she is do you make your own? Do you, there are other ways where you could actually get some medicine and get the vitamins and minerals and potassium and the electrolytes instead of these drinks that look how much sugar is in an average Gatorade or Powerade.
Right.
11 cubes of sugar in one bottle.
Yeah.
Or the brand is 14.
It's probably the biggest thing I see in, participants embarking on this journey of preparing for 5K and 10K. And because of just what you said, the actual distance doesn't warrant, the necessity for that kind of, instant sugar energy. So people think, oh, well, I'm training. I need to have Gatorade. It's a sport drink, and it's really just a product of advertising, I think. So certainly, even as an Olympic athlete, water was it. And this is going back, a long time, all the way spanning many, many years. I don't think that literature has changed any. And water is the ticket for the kinds of distances we're talking about. If you're talking about, getting up there with half marathons and marathons in heat and all of that, then we're talking about a different situation with sugars and electrolytes, but not with what we're preparing for.
Awesome. Yeah, which is great. And I think the thing to remember, I'm going to jump to there, I'll quickly get there. I just wanted to acknowledge vitamin water, the best marketing ever out there to put the word vitamin and water together. But again, each of those bottles contains 8 cubes of sugar. And per day, throughout the whole day, Health Canada wants us to have no more between 10 to 13 teaspoons of sugar. And so these drinks are just really loaded with sugar that our bodies cannot process. And so, and I remember some of you might know, and some of you may do this, but the whole bucket of oranges and a water that we used to have at soccer, you're getting the medicine of the oranges, which have the vitamin C and the potassium, and you're getting the fluids from the water. And that's what these companies have marketed on and created these fluid drinks that make it fun. And if we want to just acknowledge, too, there's other drinks that coconut water, fancy other drink waters, a chocolate milk, but again, they're full of sugar. So we want to be trying to just nourish ourselves with water. But it is the next slide really that just shows why we're at this problem. We've got famous people being paid. Beyonce was paid $50 million to promote Pepsi. Usain Bolt is one of the most amazing athletes in the world, and here he is promoting Gatorade. And a lot of these are targeted towards our children. And so I remember when I was seeing an ad one time, and the young kid, he would have been about 10 or 11, kept opening the door to the most famous athlete in each of the major sports, so NFL, NBA, like all of the ones. And every time the kid opened the door, it was like the famous guy, and he kept, the sports guy was offering the kid Gatorade.
Oh, boy.
And so it's powerful. And so how can we have some fun with water, which is kind of our focus here, is I did a elders engagement luncheons and some sharing with the elders of my worry with sugary drinks, and they said just set the table with some healthy drinks. So we have over the last 2 years been creating some healthy drink stations, and so it might be just water infused with lemon, cucumber, strawberries, frozen berries, or it might be some traditional tea, warm, or it might be some iced fir tip tea, sun tea, which some of the elders have shared has the same medicine as nature's Gatorade. So we're trying to make it fun. Or you can take any fruit-flavored blueberry, wildberry, herbal tea and just make it and then ice it in the fridge. And you've got this really tasty way of hydrating that hopefully will give your body some water medicine with some flavor, but not with the sugar bugs that we know our body can't handle.
Oh, Fiona, we loved it at leader training events. And any of you listening that were leaders around the province, you know what we're talking about, those beautiful, healthy drink stations. I took those home for sure. My kids now enjoy a jug of water in the fridge with any kind of fruit kicking around, or even those cucumbers. That's so delicious.
I know, cucumbers for some reason just add a life to water, which is amazing. And I just think that that's it. Like, I think sometimes there's this thought that if you just drink water, it's kind of boring, it's kind of bland. Well, hopefully the resources we've created, and I know that Lynn can share them with you, and that they were at the leaders training, just make you can have some fun. And that food always should be fun. And so healthy eating and exercise go hand in hand. And here's just some tips that we have seen been successful in our territory is just always setting the table with food that people might be new, but that might really nourish them. And so making it fun and eating together and connecting. Of course, recipes can be helpful, or healthy links to other cool ways of doing food. If you're going to do gift cards, sometimes when I need gifts, I just buy bags of apples, oranges, bananas, or you can buy grocery store gift cards. We know that if fruit is visible, we will eat it. So fruit bowls, the healthy drink stations, keeping food really in our consciousness that is nourishing. One of the things they say in some really great research is when you open the fridge, you should put all the produce on the shelves, and in the pull-out drawers where we usually keep our fruit, vegetables, potatoes, onions, and those kinds of things, that's where you store the treats. Because if you don't see them, you eat way less of them. So some of those great opportunities for trying. And then one of the things we know, and you can see these beautiful kids, is when we eat together at a table or even in the car or as a picnic. But if you can eat together without technology, without distraction, we know that it builds relationships, it increases self-esteem, it increases self-worth, it increases grades and performances, and all these different aspects just by connecting through food. And so that is, of course, my passion is always just to build that connection through food and having some fun. So the next slide is just let food be the medicine and the fuel. So here's some visuals of some, nothing beats soup as a nourishment, but trail mix, beautiful fruit salad. Here's some wild harvested berries mixed on salad, or just some quick and easy snack ideas here for your groups while they're training. Before you exercise, it's just important that you are nourished. Bonking is kind of the term that we all know of. Has anyone ever been on a hike or been paddling or on a run or doing anything, and all of a sudden it's like you've been unplugged? And a lot of that is that the nourishment we had before hasn't sustained us. So eating a balanced meal 1 to 4 hours before you exercise, and so that is making sure you have healthy whole grains, protein, and a little bit of healthy fat 1 to 4 hours before. And it depends on your body how fast you digest, because some people don't like to eat too close to the exercise, they can get cramps. So figuring that out for yourself and your group. And then just making sure you have enough healthy whole grain carbohydrate or fruit before you exercise, and then again the fluids. And then I've had friends try in the past where they heard about a food that they should try, and they tried it before a competition or a big run, and the body just didn't handle it so well. So always eat something familiar before you exercise.
You're so awesome. You just absolutely read my mind on that. The number of times And that goes along with almost anything. Oh, I think I'll buy a new pair of shoes right before my big day, event day, or even a pair of socks. Never mind. And food, of course. Oh, you want to feel fueled and at your finest. So stay with, familiar foods. And you've got this opportunity to kind of practice some of these good ideas now and see for yourself. It's very personal what feels best and works best, especially in terms of how much time you need before you exercise.
Yeah, yeah. This isn't a time to experiment too much.
No, yeah.
But we sometimes focus too often on before, which is really important. But replenishment after exercise or any activity is really important. So you think about that word nourishment or repletion. So you need to gift back your body what it just expended. So you want to find some foods that help nourish and replete the stores in your body, but you don't want to go eating too much as well. So eat as soon as you can after. Some people say as quick as 15 minutes to 30 minutes post-exercise. And then if you can, get a nice snack with protein and whole grains right after and some fruit. But then an hour or two later, do have a meal, have something. So I've given you a couple options there of some things that you could have.
Fiona, just a quick question does come to mind with, when I'm out there health screening and we're in kind of the goal setting portion of the process, we talk a little bit about nutrition depending on the person, and it's so common for many to say, but here I've been exercising now for 3 weeks, when am I going to start to lose weight? That's a common question. Maybe you could talk to that.
Yeah, I mean, the research and the whole focus is really trying to move away from always focusing on weight instead of wellness, and looking at your body as a place of wellness and self-care and kindness. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of what I want to focus on is like, are you sleeping better? Is your confidence better? Are you feeling happier? How are your moods? How is your health? So we want to look at wellness a little bit broader than weight, and I think that my profession and many professions have done a disservice on always focusing on the scale. Also, when we do start being more active, we build muscle, and muscle weighs more on a scale than our bones or our fat does, So you might be shifting how your body looks, but the weight scale might not change, but you might be stronger. And so I would want to be looking at maybe how your clothes are fitting, and some of that. And also, 3 weeks isn't a lot of time, right? And one of the things that we do know is I think this is a funny way of looking at it, just to kind of remind us, you can't outrun your fork. So a lot of times we increase our activity, but we don't adjust our food, and especially some of the ones that, like the sugary drinks or the simple stuff. So we want to try and make sure we're taking a balanced approach at increasing our activity and then nourishing yourself well.
Oh, thank you, Fiona.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, it does. And I know for sure that many people, especially come January time, which is when these programs start, and we're into the dead of winter, and there's that, there is that notion coming off the holiday season, and it's like, oh, I really should do something, and I hope I can lose some weight. And then just as you said, though, as you incorporate, walking or movement a few times a week, you just start to feel better, and it does just naturally become more about that part of it as opposed to a measure of weight. Just feeling good about yourself makes such a difference.
And that's what we really want, is that connection to your power, your spirit, and your beauty. A lot of times with supplements or diets or a lot of the things that are trendy, we're giving our power away. But by programs like yours, Lynn, it's about reminding people of their strength and their power and their beauty. And so we don't want to give our power away to products or food or anything. We want to know that we're these powerful beings that are making the changes. You're the one getting up every day to do these activities, and that's so
Mm-hmm.
important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to keep this stuff fun. The next slide here is just reminding to replace the screen time with green time. Nature is our original PlayStation. So getting into places, and I loved what you said at the beginning, Lynn, about I'm a real exerciser with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love bike riding with my friends or hiking with someone because the time just disappears when I'm connecting with another spirit. But one thing I do alone a lot is hiking because I love nature and I feel like it's giving me a gift. So finding your place that fills your cup up as well. You know, and then we just want to kind of close here with just that grounding of setting the table and doing your best, that healthy foods are whole foods. We really want to remind nourishment for your body, and we need to connect to. And Lynn talked about that teaching that food is medicine, and so many elders in this area share that and remind us to ground ourselves in that. And so just that. So food nourishes our mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional health and allows us to connect and share love through cooking. So a lot of times, one of the things about food that people kind of say, I don't have time. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to do is just think about ways that you can make this easy. And so some things I've been talking about recently is I like a good Netflix show, or I love podcasts. So maybe bringing your favorite hour-long Netflix show into the kitchen on a day that you have some time and laughing and cooking and prepping food while you're maybe feeling like you're getting nourished some other way. So if it could be music, television, whatever, but adapting so that you're putting a little bit of time in to the nourishment so that you have it, because we are busy and life is busy, but it is a priority to remind ourselves that food is medicine. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of gone through all of that. So I want to just close with this lovely quote: just eat foods from the Mother Earth, exercise each day to build a strong, healthy body, and smile to share your shine with everyone. So I really appreciate your time, and I'd love to hang out with you guys more. So Haichka, Kleko, Kleko, Gela Kesla, thank you for having me today. It's been great.
Oh, this has been a wonderful time. I want to hear more. I know you all want to hear more, but the takeaway, gosh, for me is that you're all being so kind to yourself by taking the time to go for these walks, to explore Mother Nature, to feel good about yourself. And then together now with those ideas that we've just heard from Fiona, just that making that experience a wonderful nourishment as one part of the total, and then bringing into the foods that will now nourish your body in the way that will help you feel even better when you're out there on your runs and walks and for life in general. So I don't know, Fiona, it's been a wonderful time, and I wish all the best to all of you now. Know that the next webinar presentation we'll have for you will take place in I guess about a month from now. We'll talk about just common run walk discomforts and how we can prevent them, and again help you feel better with the experience. So thanks, Fiona. Maybe you want to speak to some of these links that are available here before we sign off. Yeah.
Sorry, you cut out again, my love.
Oh shoot. Well, you're back. We're back. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All of these links that are up here are so, in depth. Where do we find these if we're not? Well, you've got them on your screen right now, so you can actually hold the screen and pay attention to these.
You cut out again, so I missed.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. You've taken a lot in today. All the best with your run walk programming, and we're heading into the middle third of the program. You live but once in the world. I love it. We shall make the best of it every single day. Bye for now.
Hi guys.